This
Conference will now be
session-
recorded.
We get here.
The session is being recorded. So Dave, you have the floor, and everybody else mute, please.
It is 4:34 on April 7th, 2020. This meeting is being conducted remotely per Executive Order 2020-07 in response to COVID-19. This meeting is accessible to the public via GoToMeeting.com in the following formats: via computer, tablet, or smartphone at https://global.gotomeeting.com/join/2108377733, or via telephone at 1-669-224-3412 with an access code of 210-837-733. I'd like to call to order the special board meeting for the Vernon Hills Park Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Moline,
Here.
Commissioner Robbins,
Here.
Commissioner Kessler,
Here.
Commissioner Baloo,
Present.
President Dorhoeffer.
Here. First item on the agenda is welcome to visitors and guests, public comment period. Seeing as there is no one who has joined the meeting, we will move on to new business. First item is the FAC operation for 2020. Jeff, you want to bring us up to date as to thoughts, staff thoughts, other park districts, etc.?
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, so there's been this is the reason for having the agenda item placed here with just kind of operations for 2020. Obviously, everybody's aware that we're shut down through the end of the month, all our facilities, but we're getting into that kind of that angst period of staff needing to get into a hiring phase with our aquatic operations, and then on top of that, all the training that comes behind it. I've been in communication on almost a daily basis with about 30 other park directors. Overwhelmingly, the consensus of that group is that they want to and plan to open their swimming pools or aquatic centers. Most are going to be reliant on what the Department of Public Health provides as some kind of guidance as we look to make a decision. Some of that is contingent on CDC requirements right now with the social distancing, and so to try and envelope those decisions into one saying, okay, we'd like to open our facility. The second part of that is then how, from an operational standpoint, are we going to be able to serve our customers or our patrons on a safe and practical manner. So for tonight, at least from the board, I'm looking for just direction on opening the facility. I provided you with a little bit of background on what our revenue and expenses are typically for at least what we've proposed for this upcoming year. And I'll just call it on an average year, FAC loses about 100K. And if we have a good hot summer, that number may, be cut down to maybe 40 or 50K that we would take at a loss. So with everything at bay here, with the unknowns of, our past sales are down comparatively to last year. And that's a given with everything that's, on the table right now. It's looking at, staff are looking at, certainly options of how we can potentially save some funds. We typically are open Memorial Day weekend, so that would be scheduled for Saturday, May 25th. We moved that start date, open date to June 3rd, so 10 days later. We did that in keeping in mind that the school districts are out of school on that day, June 3rd. So we figured that might be a good time to open up if people are looking for some kind of a reprieve or something to do. You have options before you of, if we close off the river, if we close off the slides, if we close off the front half of the pool, or if we just open the front half and leave the back half closed. Those are certainly options that you see that can certainly save a lot of cost because we don't have to staff it as much. But is it, the question therein lays then how are our patrons going to feel if we have to shut down a significant part of our operations? So we've also talked about closing a little earlier than Labor Day, perhaps like mid-August. As you know, we lose a lot of guards to school that time of year anyways, and we kind of go to limited hours with just weekends. So this might be an option to just shut down like mid-August and forego those last few weekends before Labor Day, which would save us a fair amount of money as well. So I think, from a staff's recommendation, we have no problem opening the facility. We'll be ready to open it, but I think we'd be better off waiting until we can push this thing out into early June to give our staff a little more time if we get, the green light from the governor and from IDPH that we can open. I think just let me share one other option that I heard from some of my colleagues is they're talking about removing all the deck chairs, that's, seated chairs, lounge chairs. And one of the options is asking our patrons to bring in their own chairs. And some of that is just more from a hygiene standpoint of, us having to wipe down every chair when somebody gets up and leaves.
Thank you. Does anyone have any objection about waiting till June 3rd to open?
No.
All right. Obviously, this will all be tainted by if the governor or legislative decision makers decide we're going to stay inside or, keep our distance for longer. I think that's got to be lifted before we open. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
If we're still social distancing, we can't be opening up the pool.
Correct. I think.
All right. So then the question becomes, what becomes our drop dead date on the back end? That if we're not open by June 30th, are we still opening if that's when the opening comes? Or do we wait for July 4th, July 15th? At what point is the point of no return? Yeah, Jim.
Question, I think the point of no return is going to not be determined by us. I think it's going to be determined by the state. I believe that no matter what the governor does, this, even if he starts opening things, areas that have gatherings or have the capability of having large groups of people in one place, I foresee those may not get a pass this season. And if they don't, they're going to make the decision for us. So I think everything's we're kind of at a loss right now until the governor starts shooting out his directives on where we go. I mean, a perfect example right now are all golf courses are closed. Is he going to reopen those? We don't know. Even after the stay-at-home thing disappears. So I think there's so many unknowns for us right now that, and I agree with you that there probably should be a drop dead date for us. I mean, if this gets extended out, then why bother? I mean, is it even worth opening for 4 weeks, which is basically all we would get if we can't open until July? So yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think we don't control where it's going. That's all.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Commissioner Moline.
I'm just going to say, and it's also predicated on being able to employ people. I mean, not that I don't think there'll be plenty of people employable, but if you're gonna open, you have to have some lead time in order to fill staff positions and train, and that may be, depending on what that is, it may not make it, that may make it even harder.
Agree wholeheartedly with you both. My fear is, Jim, that I think we've got to be prepared for June 3rd, if that's the date. And then we play off the governor. And if he says June 10th, great. If he says June 20th, great. If he doesn't say till July, then what do we do? I think as long as we're ready to open June 3rd, I think as long as we need to know what the end date is, where if he doesn't open it by the 30th of June, do we just go, yeah, you know what, we're not opening this year? Commissioner Ballew.
I don't disagree with you. I think we have to be as prepared as we possibly could. But I agree with you that, I would say, yeah, if we're looking at June 30th, if he's gonna extend everything till June 30th, I'm not sure it's gonna even be worth doing it. It's just the startup costs would be just too prohibitive, probably.
Agree. Commissioner Robbins?
Yeah, I think the later that we start, there's a better chance that we're not going to get as many employees. These younger kids are going to, try to find summer jobs that start in, when they get home from college in the middle of May or whatever. So.
Commissioner Moline?
Yeah, I don't think the problem is necessarily going to be finding people, because I think there's going to be plenty of people looking for jobs, and kids will be probably even more than others. But I have a question for Jeff. Is what kind of lead time do we need for training, and what kind of costs would that entail? You know what I mean? If it costs, I don't know what the number would be, but like 20% of the total budget is just training them, and we don't open until the middle of July, and we're only open for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. That's a big chunk of training for a small amount of, if that's true. That's my question for Jeff.
So I would tell you that it's a conversation we've had with a lot of my colleagues, and overwhelmingly the majority say that if we get notification that we can open July 1, nobody's going to open their pools. That was just a 100% consensus by every district. No one was going to open. And the reason for that is it's just too late in the season. And it may not be an employee issue as much as it is an operational issue. So I would probably advise on that same format. I think we should be hearing something with certain, because there's just too many businesses and too many operational amenities that gotta, like ours with a pool or a golf course, that gotta know what's going on. So I fully expect that we'll hear something probably before the end of the month, and it's going to take us to get all of our hiring and get all of our training. As you know, lifeguards are a little bit more of a challenge in terms of a training because of what they have to endure. But we need a good 3 to 4 weeks to get that in place. In terms of getting the facility ready, our staff, and Dave Swike was on the call earlier, but he's really the go-to guy with our aquatic center. I mean, they're going to be working on getting things just ready this next week and into the following week. And that's just more of just a lot of cleaning and getting chemicals, et cetera. It takes them about 10 to 14 days. And that includes filling the pool, getting all the chemicals balanced. And so and then on top of that, we want to get guards in water to do training. Now, we have the benefit of an indoor facility where we can accommodate that as well if the outdoor isn't ready. So I just think if we get a nod from the governor that says, hey, you can open, July 1, I don't think it's advisable for us to do, potentially a 6-week operation. And I think you'd be unified. I think that's going to be unified with every park district in the area, is what I've heard and learned.
Commissioner Ballew?
Yeah, I think the other thing we have to consider is the revenue part. I mean, we always base a lot of our revenue on season passes. Are people going to be interested in a season pass? Are we going to just live on daily fees? How do we work the season passes? I think that's another factor. The later we go, the less attractive those become to anybody. And that's a big nut to overcome.
So
Commissioner
I
Lane?
can't read my, oh,
No,
Oh, go ahead,
Commissioner-
Cindy. Go ahead. I'll
Commissioner
go after
Kessler.
you.
I'm sorry, not on, I can't raise my hand, but
That's all right.
I guess I feel I'm at the point where why even bother? And I say that because I think the culture right now, people don't want to leave their house. They're trying to be good in general. I mean, yeah, there's a few that are not taking this serious, but I think our community is taking it serious. I think they value, the mayor and the governor who's making these hard decisions. Everyone loves them because they're being really proactive and they're being on top of it. How many people really want to go swimming after coming off of all this? I feel like it needs to be a gradual thing. And I think the funds that we would put to this, we could do something else for the community. I just feel like it just is expense and time, and I don't know if our patrons really want to go swimming with a bunch of other people. And I know Jeff had mentioned that the chlorine kills everything, but do we know that for sure? And I just feel like it's not like going to go away in a month. It's going to linger. It might go down, and from what I've heard is in the fall it's going to come up again. So I mean, it's still going to be going on, and I feel like we should be responsible and not open up a pool. And I guess I'm kind of being, I mean, I hear what you guys are saying. And if I was a parent of a lifeguard thing, I don't think I'd want my kid at a pool all day. I mean, I hear other people who they don't want to send their kids to certain places because of everything. So I guess I'm even a little more cautious.
Commissioner Blaine?
I changed my, I don't need to talk. It wasn't that important. I'll talk to Jeff later about it.
Commissioner Robbins?
Jeff, can you estimate what the startup costs would be? That you said you were going to start doing some of these items, maintenance and whatever, next week or whatever. Do you have any idea what the startup costs would be?
Not off the top of my head, no. I can certainly get those, but most of it is we're paying some of our full-time park maintenance staff right now to work, and so these are just a couple of functions that we've got them planned out to do over the next couple of weeks. Is while we're paying them, we might as well have them get our aquatic center cleaned and ready to go should we open. So it's not anything in addition to what we've been doing in the past in terms of a task or a function of their job. But certainly if we get notice that they're, the IDPH or CDC is not gonna allow us to open, then that's a decision. We just move in a different direction then and we shut it down. But we haven't hired any staff yet for the aquatic center. We've been holding off on that. Typically by this time, yeah, we're doing some hiring and we're locking in people. And usually by about the middle towards the latter part of April, we've got a significant amount of our staff already in place to operate the FAC. Commissioner Blue?
Yeah, just to give you a general update of what's going on besides in other places. I know the city of Minneapolis and their whole entire park system, they've already closed their pools and beaches and everything for the summer. They've already made the decision that they're not going to operate this year. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with Commissioner Kessler's comments that there's the fear that they're like, okay, we do all this, we get it open, and then nobody comes. So it's a catch-22 sort of, but I see where Commissioner Kessler's coming from.
Yeah, and I guess Dave, on the flip side to that is another thing that we hear is that potentially people could be looking for some kind of a release and want to, get out, and, is a pool the place they want to go? I'm not sure. But there's that part of the equation that maybe people would feel like this is just something they've been so quarantined for so long that they might not mind getting out and just jumping into the pool.
And that's my fear. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say that doesn't necessarily eliminate all the potential social distancing if that still is going to be required, for a couple more months. That it would make it very challenging for us and our staff to make sure that people are following those guidelines if they're in an aquatic center. I mean, we can control where people sit. We can tell people you're too close, but that doesn't mean when you're swimming in the water with your friend that you're not, on top of one another, if you will.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're still in social distancing, I don't think we open. Is that a fair statement?
I agree.
I don't disagree with you, Dave. The problem I have is, and I should say problem. The difference is I don't think we're going to see the social distancing we have now. We're going to. I'm assuming that if anybody has some intelligence, they're going to gradually work their way back to normal, and that may take a year and a half. But where would we be? You know what I mean? I mean, can you swim laps? Can you walk? Can you do like aerobic walk? Can you have an aerobics class in the pool where they're all 6 feet apart? Those are the kind of things that people might want to still do. The question is, do we want to spend the money to open the pool for probably what would cost a lot more than a normal year? I mean, we could open it with a much more limited staff. So I don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but if we want to try and help people get some normalcy, those are still things they could do at a pool that would be a limited social distancing issue, and they would still fall within the realm of safety, but they could use the pool. But certainly you're not going to allow 50 kids in there jumping all over each other, running down the, I mean, that would be the issue is, would you open and then not allow kids in it? Or, so that's probably why it's better to just keep the dang place closed, That's what I was going to say before is about, there are some limited things you could do in a pool other than just having a bunch of kids in there playing, you know what I mean?
Well, let's take a temperature on that. Let's go around the room, just get a consensus. Who's in favor of not opening it to begin with? Commissioner Bloom?
Sorry, I'm not quite ready to go there yet, but I can see myself going there shortly.
Define shortly.
I think I need to know what the governor's going to do with May.
Okay, so by the end of April, you'll be ready to make that decision.
By the end of April, I'll be there. And to be honest with you, if he keeps us sheltered in place through the end of May, I think we're done.
Okay. Commissioner Robbins?
I agree. I would like to see what happens effective May 1st.
Commissioner Moline?
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to the end of May, then even a limited coming back would be postponed, and then it'd probably be too late.
Commissioner Kessler?
I think you guys know. I mean, I'm almost there now. I just really struggle with opening it, and I agree, Mike, that when it does open or things get lifted, it's not going to be all out. I mean, it might go back to groups of 10 or something like that. I hope it's done in a systematic way of knowing, which groups need to go, which group and how they do it. And I think swimming pools would be lower on that list in my mind. So.
As long as you can have a group of 200 by June 13th, I'm okay with it. All right, so can we say that we got a consensus that we'll wait till the end of April? If we're still stay in place through May, then we pull the plug on it there. If we're anywhere short of that, we readdress it. If we can open June 1, great. If we can't open by June 15, flush it. Is that a decent framework?
I would be a little more, I'm not even willing to go as far as that, I don't think. That's me.
Okay, so
I
we
know
got
not.
Commissioner Blue agreeing. We got Commissioner Moline agreeing. Commissioner Robbins.
I'm thinking. I think I'm listening to both sides and everything. I'm going to side with Cindy, and I'm kind of in favor of not even opening it up this year.
Okay, so it's 3-2. Jeff, we're going to wait till the end of April. If we are still stay in place through May, then we will not be opening. If there's somewhere short of that and we can open by the 1st, we will go ahead. No later than the 15th. Let's go to the 10th. Get as much out of this as we can. My fear is it's going to be 95 degrees and they're going to say everybody can go be anywhere they want. And I don't think that's going to happen, but that's my fear. Commissioner Blue.
Yeah, can we just get, and I'm going to ask this of Jeff, can you find out, and I don't know if there's a way to find out, whether a chlorinated pool can handle this virus?
That's my question too.
Because that would be helpful to know. Because if the chlorine level in a pool is not enough to kill a virus, then I'm not sure pools are going to be even open, to be honest with you. So I think that would be,
Yeah, so
I would want to know that.
okay, I can get you that in writing, but from what I've been told by our staff members that are all certified pool operators, that is already been information that's been passed on, and I'm speaking of like James and Dave Swike, Stefan, that they have been informed that yes, if you jump in the water, that the chemicals that are in the water, chlorine, acid, will eliminate any kind of virus that may be on your body.
And I don't doubt you. I just would be nice to have it in writing from the
Sure.
Department of Health.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll get something for the board on that. Sure.
Yeah, Jim, I read an article on that the other day, and they were saying that yes, that is the one advantage to opening pools is it will get rid of the virus.
Mm-hmm. I would think so, but just, it's nice to have it in writing from somebody.
Absolutely. All
Can
right.
I just say, what about all the people on the deck, though? Even if people go into the pool, when they're on the deck and they're around each other, would that
I don't think
matter?
anybody's suggesting that isn't going to be an issue. It's just,
Mhm.
this is one of the two parts of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You have the people in the pool, and then you have the people
Out of the
that
pool.
could potentially be socially distancing when they're out of the pool. But if if the pool's going to spread it, then that's a no-brainer. But I did look it up as well, and the first one that came up was the U.S. Masters Swimming, and it said the good news is that the average amount of chlorine in a pool will kill the virus. So,
But I'll get you something. I'll fire something off.
Thank you.
I think I got it. I got direction, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the CIP budget proposed suspensions. Could I have a motion to approve the executive director's recommendation for CIP/budget proposed suspensions?
So moved. Second.
All right.
Who made the motion?
Bruce made the motion. Commissioner Blue seconded it.
Thank you.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Moline,
aye.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes,
Commissioner Baloo,
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve the executive director's recommendation on full-time employee salaries. Could I have a motion, please?
so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Kessler, motion. Commissioner Moline, second. Discussion. Jeff, I have a question regarding May 10th.
Yes.
Why May 10 versus May 1?
So what I gave you, Dave, in the memo was those are the end of the pay periods. So the pay period that is in place right now is April 12th. And so I'm just asking for an extension for 2 more pay periods to keep staff on, and that would be May 10. So that's what in essence, so that way it covers the entire pay period and we're not mixing and mashing. If I go May 3rd, then you're only going to get 1 week of the 2 weeks.
That's fine. I didn't read it that way, but that's fine. Any other discussion? Commissioner Robbins.
Jeff, the cost to do this would be for those 2 pay periods is $229,000.
For those, yeah, for those 2 pay periods, you get, that's what the recommendation would be, yes.
And the whole thing would come out of reserves or part of it, or?
Yeah. Yes, that's the plan.
Jeff, what are you seeing from other park districts?
It's a myriad. I see some that have been furloughed currently. I see April 30th. I've seen May 31st for part-time and full-time. So it's kind of across the board. You know, we've seen anywhere from people being furloughed to people being laid off. I think one of the other things that, if I can just back up for substance in the prior recommendation with the CIP and budget, what I gave you was just a quick template of kind of large items, and you see that total of just about, you know, 650K. We're also working on providing the board with an updated budget for 2021 for just our operational functions. And so we'll have that for you in your board packet next week. But there's a significant amount of revenue projected that we're looking at in terms of, you know, just knowing the unknowns. But on top of that, we're also looking at, we've eliminated a lot of expense. We've eliminated a lot of what we are just doing basic core operational expenses at this point. So if there's anything that we had in there substantive that was something we just could hold off on, we're just pulling that for this year. So we'll have that for the board next week. So if that gives you some essence of what we're trying to do in terms of lessening the expense, we certainly know everybody's going to be positioned with revenue loss.
Commissioner Moline, did you have something? Okay. Commissioner Bloom.
Yeah, just for a perspective of another agency, the Forest Preserve is prepared to go through the end of May to keep their full-time staff on. After that, I'm sure all bets are off of what will happen after that. The other thing is, it's just as we're doing this evening, there's a lot of other planning going on to not do capital projects, not do a lot of standard things that would be done in the past that are just going to get let go, and then just it's gonna wait a year for things. And you know, whether they're small projects, standard maintenance, it's just where it is. But just as a perspective, they're looking at the end of May for their full-time staff.
Commissioner Robbins.
Jeff, what you had just mentioned about the savings, the costs or whatever, wouldn't that all fall into our current fiscal year ending May 31st? A lot of it?
No, the budget that the board's going to look to adopt would be for fiscal year 2021.
But aren't we, you know, obviously for the next 6-7 weeks, that whatever we do will fall into the current budget?
Yes, that would fall into the current budget. And, you know, we've given you some at the last board meeting, we gave you some highlighted of some of our larger scale programs, our after school program, our child care, our fitness center. So what Marla and our staff have been working on is those projections for between removing out all the expenditures that we're not paying out through the end of 5/31 and the projected revenues. There's about we estimate somewhere around 600K that would be a loss. Now, we are not, like small businesses and even non-for-profits that are experiencing loss, because of the shutdown. They are getting reimbursed, or they are able to take, out, 0% and no commitment loans. We don't have that same commitment from the federal government. So we have a concentrated effort through our association, through IEPD, through just even all of our executive directors that have been storming all of our congressmen in our represented districts to make sure that this next stimulus package, when it rolls out, that they consider providing some assistance for this revenue loss, because we are not an agency that is 100% reliant on tax to support our operations. 50% of our business is through fees and charges, and when we can't open any of our facilities or run programs, it has a significant impact on our operations. So we're doing our due diligence to try and get in the ear of our congressman, in this case Brad Schneider, to make sure that we get some consideration in this next wave. So I would say though, Bruce, and following your question, that we're probably about 600K is where we would kind of clock out. Now, in the same breath, I want to remind the board that we have very healthy reserves for moments like this, of this revenue loss. We've got a good amount of cash in the bank that we can use for operational loss if we have to, but we haven't really seen and positioned ourselves to that point at this time.
Any other discussion? Yeah, Marla?
Could I just add that based on Bruce's question about if this money would come out of reserves, the budget already has these salaries in it for this fiscal year. And because we're doing a number of things right now in this current year to reduce, like right now, we've already furloughed part-time staff. There's going to be a number of reductions. So as we're able to bring other expenses down, although we'll have a bigger loss this year than expected, that loss will carry into next year, but we're bringing next year down considerably. And if we can keep working those numbers, which you'll get at the next board meeting, we may not have to dip completely into our reserves to cover these costs for staff. We're gonna, help reduce those amounts that we would potentially have to borrow from that by reducing all of these expenses. So that remains to be seen how much of that we would need to use.
Thank you for that, Marla. Yeah.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Baloo,
Yes.
Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Kessler,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins,
Yes.
Commissioner Baloo,
Yes.
Commissioner Moline,
Yes.
President Dorhoeffer.
Yes, we are adjourned.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much for
All
your
right.
support.
Thanks.
Very much
Have a good
appreciate
night.
it.
All right.
Stay
Right.
healthy.
Thank you all. Everybody be safe.
Yes.
Good night.